So, you've clicked on this video because you're a producer or an artist and you're struggling to find your sound. Now, this video is going to be split up into two parts. The first part is going to be the beat breakdown. The second part is going to be the vocal breakdown. If you're an artist, of course, skip to the ending chapter. If you are a producer, stick for both because it's going to be important for you. Let's help you find your sound. Okay, so we are inside the beat project of my song called TNC featuring Kazi, who's a great friend of mine. If you do want to check it out, please feel free to. The link will be in the description. It means the world to us if you support our music, but of course the focus of this video is to help you find your sound as a producer or as an artist. But of course, anything you see here, if you like it, go check it out. So the first thing we're doing, as always, is picking a melody that we feel suited to rapping to. Or if you're producing for a specific artist, make sure you know what sound they like rapping on. Now, the reason this is actually quite important is because if an artist wants to push out positive energy, for example, to the world, they're going to want to hop on beats in the major key rather than the minor key, and maybe synths that sound happy rather than piano that sounds moody. But in the case of Kazi and I here, we wanted to create a track that was introspective, thought-provoking, and motivational at the same time. And in order to do that, we wanted to get emotion within the beat. Therefore, when I was producing this beat, I chose a piano and I was in a minor scale. So let's just play this now. So, in the case of that piano, you can hear it sounds moody, it sounds realistic. So you're probably wondering how I got that realistic sound. What I did is to Control and A to highlight everything. I clicked the wrench icon up here, click strum, and you can see it's just a bit more than an eighth across. But essentially when you slide this along, the notes are going to move and sound strummed like a real life piano would, because no one's going to be playing the keys at the same rate. That just sounds very robotic. If you're going for that sound, fair enough, but I wasn't. Additionally, you can see at the bottom, the velocities are very different. They're actually randomized. So again, if you click the wrench and click randomize, you can change the velocity knobs here and the padding knobs to randomize the velocity. Again, when someone's playing a piano in real life, they're not going to be pressing everything at the exact same key. That's impossible. Only robots can do that. But as I mentioned, finding your sound is about knowing your audience and what energy you want to put out there. Of course, if the artist that you're producing for is a rage artist, you want to take synths, you want to have really hard-hitting stuff. But for me and Kazi personally, we don't want to create music that's going to be put out there that is not true to ourselves. You know, if I started rapping about drugs, money, girls, all of this stuff over a rage beat, number one, to me it just sounds super duper generic. I do like listening to rage stuff, you know, Whole Lotta Red, Playboi Carti, A Great Chaos, Ken Carson, all of those albums and just songs from there are great. However, it's just not me, right? I want to put out positive, motivational, and just speak my mind, because that's just where I want to be as an artist. And this is how I constructed the beat. I knew that I wanted something to be thought-provoking and just give the listener something to feel, okay? And to do that, you need a beat that kind of gives out that aura. So anyways, the next part was a pad, which I literally just duplicated the piano and removed some of the bass notes so that it was less muddy. But essentially, it sounds like this. And this is actually one of my favorite pad sounds. This is from Citrus, which is a free plugin, and the piano is from Keyscape, which is a very expensive plugin, but I would actually recommend it. I've used it so much. Next, we have a flute from Flex. This is just the classic flute. You can just go in, you can go to General MIDI Library. Again, this is free. Click on the flute, go in. And I will say you don't need Keyscape to have a good piano. This is just the one that I like because it sounds natural, realistic, and there's so many presets. But here's the flute here. We've added some slide notes actually, which if you're wondering how to do that, what you do is you just click a note in, double click it, and click this ramp icon, click to accept, and it will slide. But this is how it sounds. Now those slide notes at the end, again, just give the beat more emotion and a bit more waves. And you can see that compared to the pad and compared to the piano, this is occupying a completely different frequency range. It's very high pitch. This is because when you're layering sounds, of course, you want different frequencies so there's no clashing between the melodies that you are using. And the only other thing we added was this chill guitar preset, which I'm pretty certain, again, is from Flex. Again, this is all free, but let's go and hear how it sounds. So you can hear again, this is occupying a similar sort of frequency to the flute, just a bit lower. And again, this makes your melodies very full. So yeah, this is how it's going to sound all together. Awesome, now let's go on to the drums. Firstly, we have a clap. Very simple, typical trap clap. Then we have a perk. This just adds a bit of an accent to the clap. I'm going to play them all together as we're going through, just so you can hear how it's adding stuff. Cool, next we have an open hat, which again just acts as an accent. Very simple. So other than that, the only other thing, believe it or not, that we've added to this beat is a very simple two-step hi-hat bounce, which is so simple. Just mute that. Very nice bounce, and then we got the open hats too, of course, coming in. Just so clean. And next is the 808, and after this, to be honest, the beat is done. So let's just drag that in here. We can see how it is. To tune your 808s, you just need to make sure the note is playing on C. If you want to know how exactly to derive that, you can click on your 808, right click, go edit an audio editor, click this weird cleaver looking thingy, or pin, I don't know what it is, detect pitch regions, and you can see that it's C. So that's how you know it's going to be playing in key. And then you just want to follow the bass notes of your melody. So you can see mine is F, D sharp, C sharp, C. And then if I go to my 808, F, D sharp, C sharp, and then C. So the 808 is going to be playing in key, but together it sounds like this. And all together, we've added some rises and stuff and some small beat stops, but the beat sounds like this. And this just gave me and Kazi just some foundation, honestly, to write anything we wanted to. You know, the beat isn't too complex, it's nice and spacious, but it gives off such emotion to the point where we were inspired to write this track based on our personal struggles, based on who we truly are. We didn't compare ourselves to other people and say, okay, well, on this Juice WRLD type beat, we need to start singing and talking about heartbreak, etc. No, because that's not us. You know, maybe we haven't gone through a heartbreak. Maybe we're not feeling the same way as other artists, and everyone's unique, right? We're not trying to copy anyone here, and that's something that you need to keep in mind. If you find a, I don't know, a Future type beat, it doesn't mean you need to talk about the topics that he does. You can completely switch up and just stay true to you. Of course, certain beats are going to suit certain topics a bit more. You know, it wouldn't really make sense if Ken Carson was on a beat like this, unless he was talking about something that he doesn't normally talk about. But as me and Kazi like to give out this energy to the world, I produced this beat with us in mind, and this is our sound. It just feels right, and it's something that we feel comfortable in releasing because we're not harming anyone with the lyrics. We're not talking about, I don't know, females in a demeaning way. We're not talking about our jewelry that we don't have. We're just speaking the truth. So let's go on to the vocal mixing now. So we are inside the vocal project now. Now in this case, I actually mixed both my vocals and Kazi's vocals as well. Now this project isn't completely how it was when it was mastered, etc. I think I lost some things, but it's pretty much what you see is how the song's going to sound. So these are obviously my vocals within the project. We got the beat that we just showed you that I produced. And let's go into some of the chains here. Now you can see if I double click and double click here, it's on mixer track 1. Now if you watch my previous video, you'll notice it's very, very similar. We've got an EQ here to just reduce some of the high frequency stuff. Essentially, if something's poking out to you in the vocals, it probably needs to be reduced. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's isolate the vocals. I feel I'm in a never-ending and let's get the EQ up. Okay, we're going to mute all of the other effects. Perfect. And then we're just going to play with the EQ and just move some of these knobs up and down. I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself. Gotta bring the gang, are we never going down? You can hear there's some harsh things here, but honestly, if I just move this around, I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself. Like here, there's a harsh whistling, so you just want to dip it by a couple of dB just to reduce those frequencies, and it'll just sit nicer on the beat. I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself. Like here is a bit harsh as well, to be fair. Maybe I could have done that in the mix. To be honest, these are minor things. Of course, you want to try and reduce as many as possible without reducing the overall quality of the vocals. Okay, cool. So the next thing is the auto-tune. Now this song is very raw, so we needed auto-tune, of course, to make sure our vocals are on key so nothing sounds off. But I actually upped the flex tune here to 13, and what this does is it almost takes the auto-tune back a bit. So yes, there's auto-tune on it, it's on a retune speed of 9, but you'll hear the difference. If I just disable this now and put it on, Sounds like this.
I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself. Gotta bring the gang, are we never going down?
Okay, which sounds fine. Okay, it's not too bad, but it's a bit auto-tuned. But this,
I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself.
it just brings it back to a more raw feeling while still keeping some of the tune there. The next thing is the EQ, just to remove some low end and some harsh frequencies from the vocals. Again, your EQ doesn't really need to look specifically like this, but just make sure the low end is removed, because obviously if you have a beat with a lot of bass in, the vocal's going to be clashing and it won't stand out. Next, we've got another bit of EQ, which just helps with presence. It's not really needed, to be honest. It's just reducing a bit of the lows and upping the highs. A de-esser. So every time I say like snake or sizzling, I don't know why I'd be saying that in a tune, but essentially it's harsh on the mic, right? So what this does is just reduces those S noises, and we've got that on 82% here. And it's sounding like this so far.
I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself.
Amazing. Next, we have some vocal compression. What this does is it makes sure that all of the vocals, even though they're going to be recorded at different levels, you know, when I say certain sounds, it might sound a bit harsher on the mic. This just reduces them so they're all going to be the same level. So we apply that and it sounds like this.
I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself.
Next, we have a bit of sound goodizer. This essentially just gives the vocals a bit more present. It's not necessarily needed, but just boosts some of the frequencies a bit.
I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself.
Sounds nice and kind of shiny now. We have another compressor as well, just to level things out a little bit more and to up the volume.
I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself.
And a bit more EQ. Again, you don't really need this. It's just upping the high to mid ranges, but it's not necessary. The main thing here that you want to look into is the reverb. Now, usually I would put the stereo separation all the way to the left, like so. But in this specific beat and vocal combination, I thought it sounded a bit better just like this. So I've upped the low cut, put the dry and wet to the top, and upped the decay ever so slightly and left everything else as it was from the default.
I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself.
Sounds like that. Now you'll notice there is some delay, but you're probably thinking, okay, where is the delay going to go here? Well, actually, if we check this bus, we can see there's actually delay on it and there's some more EQing. In order to route this to my main vocals so that it actually applies to it, you want to click on your main vocals. You want to click on the arrow on one of these mixer tracks. In my case, it's mixer track 3, I think it is. Yep, perfect. So I would just click the arrow and it's been routed. So now everything I put in here is going to also go to this and then to the master. So I've added a bit of fresh air. This is a free plugin. Essentially, it's just adding a bit more to the mids, so boosting those frequencies in my vocals and the highs a little bit more to make my vocals a bit more shiny. We're also adding a bit of fruity delay. Usually I would reduce the cut a bit more, just so it's less muddy. But for this specific one, we just kept the mix quite low on 4%, so it didn't sound too bad. And we have some more EQs just to remove some more of those harsh frequencies, which is what I was discussing earlier. And honestly, that was it. Those are the only things that I've applied on the vocals. Like, the majority of a good mix is a good microphone. And with the beat, it sounds like this.
I feel I'm in a never-ending battle with myself. Gotta bring the gang, are we never going down? Gotta bring the fam, nothing else matters now.
And you will also notice that I did have some ad-libs there, so essentially it's the same chain that I was using before. All I've done is just up the reverb and up the auto-tune, so you can see the flex tune is now 0 to make it as auto-tuned as possible. The reverb's gone up a bit and it's got stereo separation, and also I've moved this knob all the way to the left so that it's wider. It's stereo rather than mono. So yeah, that's essentially it. And I did the same thing for Kazi's vocals. Now, of course, different vocal profiles are going to be different, but as me and Kazi are obviously both male, we have deeper voices than a female would, so the low cut is roughly the same, and the auto-tune is going to be the same so that we're blending nicely. And I tried to keep us sounding as similar as possible in the mix, because it's going to be harsh and jarring to a listener if, you know, another artist hops on the beat and they sound completely different. So let's just listen to the transition.
Times and that can never miss. When you live like this, tomorrow's all you can hope for, kids.
And today is all you have, don't take it for granted. Search for treasure like Nathan Drake, territory uncharted.
So amazing, you can hear he sounds roughly the same. Of course, just a bit of a different voice. So that was the vocal mixing, very whistle stop toury. If you've got any questions in the comments, let me know. But I just want to talk about the writing process as well, because this video is more about finding your own sound. So when I wrote this song, I think something bad happened. I can't exactly remember what it was, but I was just feeling down. I wasn't feeling like I was in the right place mentally. I had no motivation, and I just needed to record to get it off my chest. So everything that I'm saying in this song is from the heart, and I really meant it. And I think Kazi was in a similar situation. So he's just going to let you guys know exactly how he wrote the song. why we chose this sound and the collaboration process.
Oh, what's good, guys? So we're going to talk about the inspiration and the idea behind the track Tomorrow Never Comes, Saturn feat. Kazi. Essentially, Sam and I wanted to create an introspective track, you know, heartfelt, chill vibes on the beat. And me and Sam like putting our hearts on the track, you know, something that, you know, the audience can really feel, some real bars, you know, going beyond surface level. Overall, you know, in my verse, I think one of the key things in being a recording artist is delivery. Me, Saturn, D-Mystic, we talk about this all the time. You know, you can have flow, you can have delivery. Sorry, you can have flow, you can have melodies, you can have bars. But what really makes a song is putting your heart on the track, putting your soul on it, and making sure that people really hear your emotion. So that's what Sam and I really tried to do. We have some, you know, introspective bars here and there. Ski said you gotta fix your work rate, no more slack up in the stew. You know, that's a real bar. We ain't capping on that, you know. Sam was telling me, like, you gotta like lock in, you gotta record more music, you know, if you wanna blow, if you wanna be consistent in improving, then you have to continuously release, continuously produce. So, you know, I took that on board and I put that onto a track because that's really representative of where I'm trying to be, and, you know, the growth and the push that you get from your friends and the close ones around you. And today is all you have, don't take it for granted. Search for treasure like Nathan Drake, territory uncharted. Ain't got room to make mistakes, you gon' see us on the charts. We're aiming for the stars, aiming for the stars. On the phone with bro, asking him what should we do. Ski said you gotta fix your work rate, no more slack up in the stew. And you know, I see bro's vision, I saw his vision, he sees mine too. If we don't take heed right now, then we won't make it through. Too many snakes in the grass, that's why we work from morning to eve. We're dodging the snakes. If you think I'm first, then myself last. That's my priority. We're gonna make it, it's just gonna take time. So you know I can't let my vices win again, that's why. So here we are talking about, you know, dodging fake friends, you know, dodging, you know, people who aren't conducive to our success, who are helping us. And really focusing and, you know, being a perfectionist and, you know, the internal conflict in the pursuit of achievement, you know. So I think I had some really powerful bars there, but I think what's core in my verse and it's also exemplified in Sam's verse is just the heart we have. If we don't take it right now, then we won't make it through. Too many snakes in the grass. You know, we're really saying with a heart, there's real emotion in the track. And I think as an artist, if you really want to connect with the listener, yeah, you know, have your bars, write well, have good lyrics, have good melodies, but really like put your heart into it, put your emotions, your soul onto a track, and it will really come through, it will really reflect. But yeah, I love this track, man. I think this is Saturn and I's best track so far. There's many more to come, but introspective tunes, man, they're really like such a vibe to listen to. They're chill, they're relaxed, but they also, you know, have value in them. They also have like real meaning in them. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, amazing. So I'm gonna end the video here. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and please do subscribe and check out our music. Links down below. It means the world. And yeah, boys, catch you in a bit.